major goals. The first one is about grant stewardship. Many of you spend a lot of time on that, I know, and a lot of your staff are spending a lot of time on that as well. It's about oversight of and properly managing and handling the money, the program services, and the operations within your community. As a part of that, you select your service providers, making sure they're the most effective and efficient as possible. You select your one-stop operators. You provide oversight of all the services, making sure that you're in compliance with all of those laws and regulations of WIOA and other additional funding sources that you have. You charter and evaluate the work on centers. You ensure that there's no conflict of interest happening, and many other things. The second major role, that's in addition to managing your board, is the system builder role. You are creating an aligned, streamlined community workforce development system out of that collection of partner agencies within your communities. You do that by convening your partners, by making sure that you're creating service matrices from the job seeker services, the job seeker wraparound services, the business services, so that you as a board can take that information and make sure you have the right kinds of services and enough of the right kinds of services to meet the needs of the job seekers and the businesses within your communities. You build system capacity. You make sure you're building and creating uniform process maps or service maps and focus flow charts across all those different services that multiple partners are working with. And you leverage those program resources and services to make sure, again, you're meeting the needs of the community. All of these, we have a lot of Indiana Workforce Development Board best practices around. What we wanted to do today was to focus on the last key major role of the Workforce Development Boards, the regional backbone role. That role is where you help the communities to identify, prioritize, and solve the key community workforce development issues. There are 3 steps to that, and each of the individuals here will be talking about one of those steps and the best practices they have around that step within their own workforce development board. The first one will be Linda Woloshansky, who will be talking about the first essential step. It's about researching, gathering data, publishing data, leading to the determination of those key workforce development issues within the region. Linda, if you'd like to start off, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ricky. And first I'd like to start out by thanking Commissioner Payne for his leadership in setting the stage today for this event. Based on what he heard, the Workforce Board executive chairs really expressed to him. I also want to thank you, Ricky, for the years of service that you have given to INWIBA. We have all really appreciated that. And I want to do a shout out to Ron McCulloch. He's our friend and colleague, and he worked on this event today, and unfortunately his wife has taken ill, so he is with her, and we wish Mary a very speedy recovery. As Ricky said, among the many roles that the Workforce Board plays, the one as a backbone has been really important to the Northwest Indiana Workforce Board. And for many years now, they have created a report called the State of the Workforce Report. This document has served our community well, and for many years was the only regional assessment of the talent supply in Northwest Indiana. It has served to provide the demographics and the information about the labor market, which has been critical to so many of our stakeholders. Our economic developers, our businesses, our educators, our labor organizations, local elected officials, community-based organizations, and state organizations who have used this document for policy development, for strategies and various activities that they have put into place in their own areas of expertise. Everything from wage rates to working with site selectors, and also taking a look at the trends of performance for our high schools and our colleges. Most recently, the 2018 report first was used to inform consultants that were hired by the Northwest Indiana Forum, our Regional Economic Development Group, to develop the first Regional Economic Development Plan for Northwest Indiana. And it also filled in the gaps of issues that the consultants did not really address. The second example of how this report is used is one that's very exciting, and that has to do with actually taking a look at how diverse Northwest Indiana is. Northwest Indiana is the most ethnically and racially diverse region in the state of Indiana. And the report featured that 12.7% of our population is a Latino population. And realizing that we have not really been doing very much with that particular community. Several months after the report was developed, the Northern Indiana Public Service Company, NIPSCO, actually imported a program called Latinos Counts that focuses on juniors and seniors in high school, helping them to prepare for career exploration, career readiness, looking at work ethic attributes, and also preparing them not only for immediate labor market, but ongoing post-secondary education. I'm really pleased to say that the Northwest Indiana Board has now decided to support that initiative and will be rolling out the first program for these students in December of 2019. The third illustration I'd like to present is one related to ALICE families. The asset-limited, income-constrained, employed people who are working 1, 2, 3 jobs and still are not able to make ends meet. They are not able to provide level self-sufficiencies for their families. They are really struggling and have really limited opportunities to seek training in order to upgrade their skills. The Lake Area United Way has really championed this cause now in Northwest Indiana. They've been able to hire a career navigator that will be working with these families to alleviate barriers so folks can access Work One services. And we were very fortunate to receive a J.P. Morgan Chase grant that will focus on people who are working in manufacturing, in entry-level jobs that also cannot move up the career ladder. They will be receiving incumbent worker training, will be working with their employers so that we can take a look at apprenticeship programs and whatever else is needed so they really can upgrade their skills, can get those better paying jobs, and begin to turn their lives around in terms of having an income which is sufficient to take care of all the needs of their families. So the report is available. It is online. Go to workonenorthwest.com. Click on the link for the Northwest Indiana Workforce Board, and if you'd like to see what it looks like, it is certainly available to be downloaded to anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Because you can see why this is such a key thing, not only for the workforce development boards to do their work, but for other partner agencies as well. Our next speaker is going to be one who takes the information of that has been pulled together about the key workforce development issues, and then they've been able to prioritize and address those issues using a strategic plan to make sure that they can solve the workforce development needs that I identified. I'd like to call upon Angela Cartledge to present Employees' community-wide approach to developing a strategic plan.
Thanks, Ricky, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. I also want to echo Linda's comments of our appreciation for the leadership at DWD and others who really set up the agenda for today. So when I joined Employ Indy about 3.5 years ago, I had a pretty significant career in philanthropy and working in a lot of neighborhoods and community-based organizations, and recognizing rather quickly that we could myopically be focusing on the 46 funding streams that come through our agency and just function in that grant steward capacity. But what was really needed was to take a step back and look at all the resources and different groups that were working towards the same objectives, right? We are the beneficiaries here in Indianapolis as compared to some of our peers of a number of different groups, community-based organizations, faith-based groups, a number of adult education providers who are all working in concert, ideally, to achieve objectives to ensure that Marion County residents have the skills and the education and training necessary to take advantage of the jobs here in the local market, and concurrently working with employers to understand their talent needs and create pipelines so that they can continue to deliver our economy. So as part of that objective, we really embarked on a year-long strategic plan. Let's take a assessment of the field. Let's do a landscape analysis and recognize where employee indeed can be of benefit and value add to our community and use your taxpayer money wisely. Ultimately, over that year-long process, we've landed on 3 high-level objectives that are our North Star and guiding us for the next 5 years. And we're reporting out on those every year, iterating, which I'm very excited to talk about here shortly. Ideally, what we want to do on your behalf, not only as state residents, but here in Marion County, is we want to ensure that employers in our community have barriers reduced for them to find the talent that they need. And particularly in this low labor market, we find that companies are more than happy to come to the table and discuss ways we can augment their current staffing practices. And our guarantee is that we're going to bring candidates to your door that are job ready. So we're aggregating a lot of supply at this current time, over 20 different organizations, not just those coming through our Work One, and indicating to our partners out on the supply side field what we mean by job ready, what are those thresholds. Sometimes it can be just about transportation because many of our employers actually exist with our Region 5 partners. Where's Lance? Hi, Lance. And so we need to ensure that individuals can get to the job and have, that reliability and loyalty to the company too. So we're doing this through a variety of ways. Obviously, the conversation usually starts with hiring, but we've put together a menu, almost like an a la carte menu of different ways that employers can engage. We've created a continuum that we call our E7 continuum, and really tried to educate and work with employers, come alongside them and say, employment really is the end result of a number of different engagement opportunities. And we need you to come farther upstream, participate with our high schools, really expose young people and our residents to the opportunities that exist in the industry. And a lot of those resources can be found on our website as how we're trying to delineate to employers different ways to participate with us more fully beyond just a hiring fair or a hiring strategy. The second high-level objective that we have is we want to create a positive trajectory for youth and young adults. Obviously, the funding from the state to support the JAG program is incredibly important. We have a number of different groups here in Indianapolis who are working inside the school as well. We consider those our prevention partners, those are our in-school activities, and those are incredibly important to reduce the denominator of out-of-school youth because that is a challenging population to work with, they're hard to find, and it's more costly, frankly, to work with them once they've exited education and they're not participating in the workforce. That being said, we do have financial resources to support that demographic and really feel like Employee Indy can take a leadership role in that space. So 16 to 24-year-olds, we are working with a number of different community partners. I'll be speaking later on in this lightning round about some of the successful strategies we've had working with Boys and Girls Club and many of our community-based organizations to reach out to that population, inculcate trust, meet them where they're at geographically as well as on their educational journey. And then third and final, as what we're trying to do high level at Employee Indy is we're trying to be more judicious and intentional of where we deploy our resources. So you heard Commissioner Payne speak to the low unemployment numbers. We have that here in Marion County, but that figure really masks what is a challenge in specific neighborhoods who have been afflicted with multi-generational poverty for a number of years. So we have decided that, yes, we have our Work One, and we ensure we work with every single resident that we're going to be more intentional with deploying our resources through the library system as well as through community-based organizations in 5 specific zip codes. And those zip codes were prioritized because unemployment in those zip codes is closer to 16 or 18%, and probably more distressing to me is the lack of participation in the labor force. That means there's generations of people who are living in these communities who've really given that hope that they're even going to be able to participate in our labor market. And we are excited about having this kind of guiding principles and really are using that as a way to blend or braid the funding streams that come through our agency, both through the federal government, the state government, the city, philanthropic support. Those are all going to bring about the outcomes that we'd like to see in those 3 high-level buckets as well.
Great, thank you. As you can see, there's a lot of strategic good plan around, so thank you for sharing that. And again, once you have that strategic plan, it's not just about saying, great, we have a strategic plan, it's about implementing that strategic plan and following through on the strategic plan. So we have our final speaker today, Sarah Worsel, who will be talking about how they have actually followed through with one of their, their initiatives, which is called the Teacher Boot Camp, and she will talk about how they're following through on trying to address some of those key workforce development issues. Sarah.
Thank you. An echo to what Linda and Angie said. Thank you to all of the leadership that has pulled today together. I think it's a very important program. The Teacher Boot Camp came about because of the emerging workforce and their perception of our largest industry, which is manufacturing. Region 11 is the most southwest corner in the state, so as we are heavy in manufacturing and a lot of high school or even elementary students not having a good understanding of what is available within a manufacturing facility, we brought together key manufacturing companies in our region and pitched an idea of Teacher Boot Camp. That is a 2-week immersion program for educators K through 12, and they are allowed to spend 2 days within 4 different manufacturing facilities and learn the skills. Some perform hands-on work, but mainly we wanted to help the teachers or the educators understand the pathways available in manufacturing. And it's very important the role that the company plays, not only for allowing those educators to come in and spend that time, but they also bring key leadership to the table. So, for example, one individual that comes in and talks to the educators within their days, had gone on to 4-year college, decided that that was not for him after 2 semesters, and decided that now he had to pay off that debt. And there was one company on the radio that day, and it caught his attention. He started working there, and with no cost has become one of their maintenance journeymen. And so he tells the story of how that company invested their time with him to improve his skills and bring him up into a leadership position. And that is the key component to the boot camp. It was initially started with a foundation grant, and is now 100% supported by the 4 manufacturing companies in our region. The hook to the educators is, although it is during the summer, they are paid a 2-week stipend, so they can earn up to $1,100 over that 2-week period. They're also eligible to earn up to 80 professional growth points. So we know that that's very important when they go to renew their license. They have to have at least 90, and in just 2 weeks, an educator can earn up to 80 out of those 90. So that was so successful in the first year. I think the first year we had capacity for 32 teachers, and I believe we had 28. They were thrilled, but what is an important component at the end is every educator must present their aha moment. What is it that was that turning point for you during the boot camp that you will then implement into your classroom? Many of them explained that they had no idea the types of positions that were available, the leadership capability that a student or a young adult could earn, and that there are higher wages than they had anticipated. Many of them think that they may have chosen the wrong path themselves. But it is a very important initiative in changing the perception of manufacturing, and it was highly thought of by our friends in Du Bois County, just to the east of, in the eastern part of our region. And they decided it was so important that without any grant funding, they would fund it and start that themselves. So it is one of those ways that we are trying to change the perception of manufacturing and connect educators, which have an influence on students, to that industry so that they can help fill that emerging pipeline.
Thank you. I think it is. I think we have a few minutes in case you have specific questions for either any of them or all of them together. Any specific questions? Yes.
I have a question. Have you thought of doing a boot camp for students? Because I'm a teacher, and it's getting the students to buy into why I need to be workplace ready.
Yeah, I think that's important. We have not gone to the student boot camp. We do participate in our region's Junior Achievement Job Spark, which gives them just a little bit of a taste. We also bring the students to manufacturing and other STEM career facilities through a tour of opportunity. So that gives them a firsthand look, but it's not as intense as the boot camp.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. You may have some questions as you think about it at lunchtime or whatever. I talked with each of these folks and they said they are more than willing, if you want to stop them in the hallway or stop them at lunchtime, if you have a question, they'll be able to answer that for you. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you.